Hey everyone, here's Marvel Legends Scarlet Spider from the Rhino BAF Wave, Authentic and KO. The KO really looks similar to the Authentic and is also decent in quality. I'm going to share with you 3 ways to tell them apart and a few more minor differences. Before I begin, I just want to share that for once, I really can't differentiate between the hands of the KO and the Authentic. Both of them have the grooves at the pegs and they have the same shade of red as the hands, even for the KO. So yeah, it's difficult to tell them apart. Now, the first difference between the KO and the Authentic Scarlet Spider, just like the other KO Spideys, would be the gap at the right elbow. The gap at the right elbow of the KO is wider and it has a letter R which is engraved inwards. Unlike the Authentic, which has a smaller gap and has an R that is sculpted upwards instead. For the left elbow, the gap is still slightly wider but not as wide as the right one, and there is also an L which is engraved inwards for the KO, a bit more difficult to see though because the gap is narrower. The second way to differentiate between the Authentic and the KO would be the hoodie. The hoodie at the neck area for the Authentic has no gaps at this part over here, but for the KO, there is a gap and you can see the red paintwork underneath it over here. No gap for the Authentic, there's a gap for the KO. The third main difference to tell them apart will be the gap between the thigh and the crotch area. For the Authentic, there's almost no gap between the upper thigh and the crotch. But for the KO, you can see a gap on both sides between the thigh and the crotch area, and you can see the peg of the thigh that goes through the crotch. Gap over here, no gap for the Authentic. I spotted 2 more minor differences. The first one is the web shooters. For the KO, the black lines on the web shooter did not go all the way to the other side of it. For the Authentic, it definitely looks better. But this incomplete black line is only on the right web shooter. I'm not so sure whether this is a consistent difference between the KO. If any of you have the KO, you can share with me if this is the same case for the web shooter on the right hand. And the second minor difference, which would actually be difficult to see in pictures, would be the shade of red on the crotch area of the KO. Less obvious on the front, but if you were to look at the back, it is more obvious that the shade of red on the whole crotch area is actually slightly darker than the red of the rest of the figure. Especially here, you can see the comparison. Darker red, slightly brighter red. And no such problem for the Authentic. The Authentic's shade of red is really consistent throughout the figure. The spider symbol of the figure is actually quite well done even for the KO. And also the face is well painted for the KO as well. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the KO of the Scarlet Spider is actually quite difficult to differentiate. The 3 main ways to differentiate are the gap at the right elbow, the gap at the hoodie at the neck area, and also the gap at the crotch area. Overall, this KO is quite a solid figure, just like the KO of the Big Time Spidey and the Black Costume Spidey. Thanks for watching. Do stay tuned for more comparison videos, hit the subscribe button, and check out these other KO comparisons in this playlist over here.